So let's talk about scientific notation and how you enter a number that's in scientific notation into your calculator. So I actually think this is one of the more important slides for this course because as you go on in your career with science or nursing or math, you're going to be needing to use your scientific calculator and entering numbers in scientific notation in it to do calculations. So I have tried to use this slide to address the main types of calculators and how you would enter something in scientific notation. We're going to use this slide. We're going to use some next slides to illustrate the types of calculators and where those buttons are. But in short, to enter something in scientific notation on your calculator, you want to use either the EE button, which can be found on this brand of TI calculators, your times 10 to the n button, if you have a multi-view, or a button that has EXP on it. So either that EE button times 10 to the n or that EXP button is what's used to enter things in scientific notation. You do not want to just enter in scientific notation by using the times or the caret button. You also do not want this 10 to the x button. That's the inverse log button. Okay? You want to look for one of these three buttons on your scientific calculator because you will use that button when entering things in scientific notation. So here's a TI-30XA. This is actually the kind of calculator that we have in the chemistry department. It has an EE button. So when you put a number in scientific notation, you would type in the number, let's say 1.23, all of this, and then you would hit the button EE. And that automatically tells the calculator that you're going to do something in scientific notation, that it's times 10, and then it's waiting for the exponent for you to type in. So right for this number would be 1.23456 times 10 to the 99th power. So EE button on the TI-30XA is right here. If you have this brand of this version of calculator, you can see there's an EE button, but it's in blue. That means to activate that function of the calculator, you need to hit the second button. So if I wanted to put something in scientific notation, I would have to enter in the number, then do second, and then this button, and then put in the necessary power. On the 30X Multiview, they don't have an EE or an EXP button, but they do have a times 10 to the n button. So that's the button that you will use when entering things in scientific notation. So these are the three most common TI calculators out there and where those buttons are for scientific notation. If you're like me, you have a Casio, and in fact, this is exactly the calculator I have. It's even pink. The Casio calculator has an EXP button. So that EXP, it's like EE, or the times 10 to the n button. That takes the place of typing in the actual times 10 to the, and then the power. So this number that's up here, this number is negative 1.23 times 10 to the negative 99. So when you use your EXP or your EE or your times 10 to the x 10 to the n button, you may not see the times 10 show up on the calculator, but the fact that the power is up there, that tells the calculator that you are in scientific notation. So those are the main types of calculators that I have seen students ask questions about when entering something in scientific notation. Now I want you to just take a moment and try to enter this number in scientific notation on your calculator. And I guess what's most important is to try and enter two numbers and do a mathematical operation with them. So if you wanted to solve this bottom equation on your calculator, I want you to solve 6.0 times 10 to the 5th multiplied by 4.0 times 10 to the 3. I want you to multiply those two numbers that are in scientific notation. Now using parentheses, here I've got parentheses here because it's like saying that I'm multiplying those two numbers. I have noticed that on some calculators, entering those parentheses is important, on others it isn't. But what I want you to do right now is get out your scientific calculator, if you don't have it out already, find your EE 10 to the times 10 to the n button or your EXP button, enter in this calculation on your calculator and make sure you get the correct answer out, which is 2.4 times 10 to the 9. Now that answer may come out in non-scientific notation. That's okay. You can go ahead and put it in scientific notation using the rules that we talked about previously. But you should, before you go on, you should try this calculation and make sure that you feel comfortable putting in numbers in scientific notation in your calculator.